Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is you want to go to this Wacom tablet option, and under this menu, what you have is you should have your Cintiq 12-inch display here under Devices. For the tools, you'll have the pen or the stylus, and then you can actually customize the settings for each one of these for each application. So for example, Photoshop is a little weird. Undo is not just Control Z, I believe it's Control Shift Z, whereas undo in Sketchbook Pro will be simply Control Z. And so the first thing that I want you to do is, if you look at the pen is kind of up, right side up, the tip is pointed towards the ground. So the closest button to the tip, I want you to go in and click on keystroke. You can hit Control Z and then type in undo here and hit OK. The other keystroke that I like to use is just essentially the space bar. So hit the space bar, and what that does is it helps you navigate. And I'll show you that in just a little while. You can adjust the firmness. Since this is pressure sensitive, you can adjust the firmness of the sensitivity, whether you draw fairly heavily. There's a double click distance. Not much of this stuff I change. I just change the tip feel. This is the default setting, and make sure that I change the way that the buttons work. So the eraser, here I don't do anything. You could adjust your pressure here as well. And then we want to go to calibration. Make sure that you have, since we have two monitors, make sure that it's on the Cintiq and click on calibrate. What you're going to do here is simply tap in each of those so that your calibration works. And as you become more familiar with this, you might actually want to calibrate your pen so that it's not dead on, and so that's just something that I would encourage everybody to play with. But from there you should be fine. So let's go to Sketchbook. Within Sketchbook Pro, there are a number of different options. We'll just go through this top menu first. When you click on the magnifying glass, you get this, which actually will let you pan, it will let you rotate your page, but since the 12 inches you're able to rotate anyways, and then also you're able to zoom in and out. Now if we get out of that, if we go to any of these tools over here, let's just go to the pencil, and you hit that button that I had you customized to the spacebar. The spacebar brings up the same navigation. So you can be sketching with your favorite tool, and then very quickly change that navigation, rotate it if you'd like. So I very rarely use this. It's also found down here in the dock, and there's an interesting user interface. What you want to do down in this lagoon, I think is what they call it, is you hold down and then you drag in one of the directions, and when you release in that direction, it makes the selection. So here's a number of default tools. Your colors are down here, which I do use that pretty often. The lasso selection tool. All these tools are found up here, or at least a majority of those tools are found up here. It looks like some of the symmetry tools are not found up here. But you've got crop, which I don't use very often. Transform allows you to kind of do what you probably experience in Photoshop. You know, you're able to distort this, which I guess you could use to generate some orthographic views and then put them, you know, in perspective if you wish, which will be one way to draw. There's a paint bucket tool. We'll go over that in a little while. A type tool, the ruler, basically gives you the ability to draw straight lines. The ellipse tool enables you to utilize the minor axis and basically set up an ellipse. You can adjust the degree of the ellipse, and the nice thing about this is it stays concentric if you'd like for it to. So you can draw concentric circles. This allows you to rotate. This changes the degree. If you double click on this right here, it will go to a circle. And similar when you're using the ruler, which I did not show you a moment ago, if you double click on one of these lines, it'll go horizontal or vertical depending upon, I think, how close it is to one or the other. There's also this tool, which again, I don't use this very often. You may have noticed that I used it in one of the earlier demos to generate a line. There are multiple, let me clear this layer. There are multiple tools that you can use, and you can kind of cycle through them here. So I've always found that this tool tends to be the one with the best variety. You'll notice that it starts to accelerate. So if you were drawing a curved surface, you could use that acceleration. The other thing is that there is a perspective tool. So if you want to maybe set up your perspective, these are your left and right vanishing points, and you can drag those around your horizon line, and you'll notice it's very easy to sketch something in perspective. There's a Symmetry Tool, which can be nice. You can go up and down, left and right. And then you can also divide this into a number of different. So if you were drawing wheels for a bicycle or a car, this is one way to accomplish that. Try and draw a circle. It's pretty interesting. You can turn off the visibility. So that's a tool that you probably will use every once in a while. I actually don't even know what this is. Steady stroke. I guess this just helps. I'm ahead of the game. Interesting. So I'm just ahead of it. And that, I guess, will correct ellipses, or try to. Circles, make it smoother. You can simply draw lines, squares, circles, ellipses. I don't use this very often. That pulls up the layers menu. This pulls up the brush palette. There's the color editor, and they do have a Copic library. So you can begin to use those. As you wish to generate some nice colors. You can create a custom set. The layers menu, and layers is really where you're going to start to take advantage of a number of you'll really begin to take advantage of digital sketching when you start to use layers. And so the way that this works is very similar to the lagoon in the bottom left. You click on the layer and then your options appear. So you've got merging, just the merging and the layers works very similar to Photoshop. You've got visibility, so you can turn it off or on. You've got add another layer, you've got duplicate, and you've got delete. So let's add a layer. Let's go over here. We'll just draw something. You can duplicate that layer. If I do a select all, or if I just grab this and then go to my move, I'm able to move that object. So if I needed to maybe adjust something, or I did not feel like drawing the same line over and over again, there's a pretty interesting selection tool in here, and it's the lasso one. And that lasso tool, when I let go, it will ultimately complete the selection. Again, you can merge down. Now that's all on one layer. What you might consider. So I've worked on a number of projects where I basically had some shared line work. In particular, I remember working on a barbecue grill where the only thing we were changing would be the handles and the knobs, and so you know, you can sketch a majority of the grill and then come back in and on separate layers just sketch what it is that you are sketching and exploring.